Click. You'll have this later now. So yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome to CSCI 1. I'm excited to teach you stuff. If you've never taken a class with me before, I do not make my PowerPoints full screen. First of all, because I'm going between programs all the time. And second of all, I get much cooler pens if I leave it like this. I'd much rather do it like this then. Okay? So that's that. Second thing, I'm going to give you everything you see today, including this recording on Canvas. You'll get these slides. You'll get all the code that I write. I don't think I'll write any today, but on Wednesday I will. So that's that. And let's see here. Yeah, we're just going to do that standard first day stuff today. It'll be a little boring, sorry, but we'll actually get to computer science, I promise, eventually. We just have to do all that administrative, talky stuff, sadly. But we'll get through it as fast as possible. So I'll talk about myself a little bit, talk about the class, and then we'll actually get into some of the meat of the topics that we're going to learn this semester. So yeah, let me tell you guys a little bit about me, and we'll go from there. So hello, everyone. My name is Lawton Nichols. I use he, him pronouns, and I will respond to whatever you want to call me. You can call me Mr. Nichols. You can call me Dr. Nichols, Professor Nichols. But if you're up to it, I would prefer it if you just call me by my first name. Throw all these away. Call me Lawton. I would appreciate that. I don't want your fake respect. I want to earn your real respect, right? So call me Lawton if you like. I went to Fresno State for my bachelor's degree. That's not too far away, right? And then I went to UC Santa Barbara, for my master's and PhD. Every single degree of mine is in computer science, so hopefully I can teach you something. And yeah, this is my 4th year here. I like to do human things as well as computer things. I like to dance. I like to play guitar, go rock climbing, all that fun stuff. So I'm not just a robot. I have a life, hopefully. And this is my cat. He's much older now. This is from the first semester when I taught here. He's a pandemic cat. His name is Lonzo. He's much bigger, but I just left him. He's still on my bed. It's like he never left. And he's named after Alonzo Church, who you've maybe never heard of, but he was the PhD advisor of Alan Turing, who you probably have heard of. So, yes, I dedicated my firstborn son to computer science. So that is a little bit about me. Hopefully you know me a little bit better now, and I'll get to know you over the semester. So yeah, we live in this weird post-pandemic world, right? Nothing is as it seems. So thank you in advance for putting up with me. Get through the semester together and hopefully have a little bit of fun. So yeah, that's the start of everything. Let's keep on trucking. Let's talk about that boring stuff, get to the syllabus and all that. I'm going to go fast because it bores me too. Just remember that it's your responsibility to read that syllabus, and that is our contract together, right? So yeah, this is an in-person class, and for some reason in college, I don't know why, we have to take attendance here. And so I'm going to do that in a little bit. I've made a nice streamlined way of doing it. I hope we will enjoy it. And then also I have to have drop policy. So if you miss 3 classes in a row, 3 consecutive classes, that's pretty lenient, right? Then I'm going to drop you. Then you're not showing up, okay? So that's my drop policy. I also have to drop you if you don't show up to this first class, which you're all here. I'm talking to you. You don't have that problem, all right? But I am, of course, lenient with this rule. If you have something come up, just let me know, and we can work something out, I'm sure. Okay. So that is attendance stuff. Let's also talk about expectations. This is a 3-unit general education class. It's not anything like my other 4-unit major specific computer science classes that I teach. This is not supposed to be a hard class. It's not meant to be the world's most difficult class, but you are going to have work to do. Just remember that and remember to do it, and you'll do fine. So that's that. This is computer science. If you have never touched computer science before, some of this stuff will be hard for your brain to understand at first. That's just normal. That's learning a brand new subject. That's the way that works. And hopefully that will become a fun feeling soon enough. Okay? We're going to learn to program in this class. That's a completely new way of thinking. So we're going to challenge your brain with that new knowledge. Right? So it might hurt a little bit, but I promise it's worth it. And then also the work. When you are learning to program, it can get a little tedious at times because like you try to do one thing, it's not working, and you just gotta got to make it work eventually, and that's the learning process. It can be a little tedious if you wait till the last minute to do things. If you've taken a computer science class before, you know how much you cannot wait until the last minute. It just won't work out, okay? So I'm warning you now. Please try to start early on things. That'll help your brain understand it. And then finally, this could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you feel about education. This class has really nothing to do about memorizing, all right? Nothing to do with memorizing stuff. So you don't have to like memorize a bunch of tables of things. You just have to learn to think in a new way, really. That's how it's going to work, all right? So you can't memorize answers and expect to do well on tests. You will learn how to program, and then you'll be able to program whatever you want. That's pretty much how that works, how computational thinking works. And yeah, that's my spiel. I'll be here to help you. I'm on Discord all the time. Hopefully you got on that. The tutorial center is here to help you as well. We all want you to succeed. Please don't run away. That's the class in a nutshell. As far as expectations go, we will be working with computers and the internet, of course. So if you need any of that and you haven't heard of this, please take advantage of what the library has to offer. The library is able to check out to you laptops. They're able, if you have a bad internet connection at your house, they will check out to you a hotspot, a wireless hotspot, and you can keep it for the semester. They'll check out calculators to you if you need that for a math class or something. So please, 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 if you need that, look at our resources page on Canvas. There's like a little form that you fill out, I think, and you just go to the library, pick it up, and it's yours for the semester. So that's really cool. Please, please use it if you need it. And then, yeah, let's talk a little bit about this class. Probably the goal, as far as I'm concerned, is to teach you how to program, how to think like a computer, and the fancy term for that is computational thinking. All right, so we're gonna go there a lot in this class. This is also a general education critical thinking class, and that is there's like two halves to this class in a weird sense. I'm gonna teach you how to program, and then we also have to talk about like ethics and logic and how to argue things, and we have to write essays for some reason in a computer science class. Wasn't my idea. But all of these things that are part of critical thinking, we're going to learn as well, and those will influence and help you with your computational thinking. That'll be fun, I think. So yeah, this is a critical thinking class. That'll be fun. And we'll also try to tie all of the non-computer science stuff that we learn, like logic and fallacies and things, back to computer science. And there's plenty of ethical problems in computer science right now. Just think AI, right? So we're going to go there in this class, and hopefully it'll be fun to write the essays when you have to write them. Okay, so that's that. And by the way, I like to run my classes like a discussion. So if you have anything that you like I'm not saying, please raise your hand or just shout out and yell at me, and I'll answer your questions then and there. Okay, it's more fun for me that way. So keep that in mind. Who is this class for? I'm trying to target everybody. It's for anybody who wants to be here, really. If you are just someone, you maybe don't want to major in computer science, you just want this to move on with and check that box on your transfer degree, it's for you. If you just want to become a little bit better with talking to computers and solving problems, this is your class. All right. If you just want that credit, this is your class. I'll try to make it as fun as possible for you. And then if you already are maybe a computer science major or a STEM major, and you're trying to broaden your horizons a little bit, rather than just like zoom into writing programs all the time, this class is also for you. All right, so trying to make it have something for everyone, let's say. Okay, so hopefully you'll stick around. And all right, that's probably the slide you care the most about. Let's go to the syllabus. So we got our Canvas. We're all on it, assuming we're enrolled right now. And the first page you got to go to is this modules page to unlock all this other stuff. So hopefully you did that and you noticed. So I'm like, complete all items, complete all items. This is just me forcing you to look at everything to cover myself, probably. But here's the syllabus. Let's take a look at it. And please read this. You're required to read it, but we'll scroll to the part that you care most about right now. Grading. So here are all the different kinds of assignments that will be in this class. Let's start with this one because this is the one that's out right now. Some of you have started already. So every week, I will give you a check-in survey to do. That was something I started during the pandemic, and it's really nice, actually. It's kind of me getting you to psychoanalyze yourself. I'm going to ask you every week, like, what are you struggling on? How do you think you could do better? Stuff like that, which will help me understand what's going on in your mind, and it will also help you figure out what you need to do to succeed. So I'm excited about them. They work really well, and it's a very easy 5% of your grade. So just do them all. Is you just write a couple sentences, and you get 5%. That's great. So that's that. This is a critical thinking class. There's a writing requirement. You have to write 6,000 words of essays total this semester. Wasn't my idea, but we got to do it. So pretty much a good chunk of your grade is going to come from writing essays, right? 30% of your grade will be from those essays, and also some of them will be like a Canvas discussion, so it won't be as serious as an essay. And these will all be weighted proportional to the word count. So if it's like a 500-word essay, will be half as weighty as a 1,000-word essay, something like that. So that's 30% of your grade is essays, and then the other half of the class is writing programs. So there will be programming assignments most weeks. We're going to start out with a language called Scratch that's meant for people who have never programmed before. And then we're going to ease our way into a language called Python, which is a lot more popular, and it's generally the first language that's taught to people. So you're going to come out of this class with knowledge of that, which is awesome. And if you have already learned how to program before, oh, by the way, that's another 30% of your grade from those programming assignments. And if you've already learned how to program, though, if you've taken a CSCI class already, then Scratch programs might not be challenging enough for you. And I'm going to force you to do a different set of programming assignments for the Scratch phase of the class. If you've never programmed before, just do the default assignment. Everything will be fine. But everybody else, I'm going to give you a different assignment. And we can also come up with another assignment for you if you don't like the one that I've come up with already. Okay? So that's programming assignments. That's the grade breakdown. What else have I not done? There will be one midterm halfway through the class, so that's week 8. There's like 16 weeks of classes, so that's halfway enough. 15% of your grade for that midterm, and then 20% of your grade will be a final exam at the end of the semester during finals week. Okay? So that is all the pieces of your grade. Are there any questions about any of this so far? This is probably the most important 6 lines on the syllabus. Yes? It's there's a bunch of completely different topics that I will get to as I assign them. I'll give you the first essay today, so you'll get a feel for it. I'll tell you later. We'll get there, I promise. Yes?
6,000 word count?
Not per essay, in total. I am requiring a word count minimum on each essay. And so you can go above and beyond, that's fine. But as long as we meet the minimums, we're all getting the 6,000. Okay? Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so there's that. There's a book. I recommend the book. I don't require the book. I think the bookstore by default says it's always required, but I'm just going to recommend it. I'm not going to force you to buy it. If you do buy it, though, I promise you'll understand things a little bit better. I'm kind of structuring the class around this book and some of the topics I'm taking, a lot of the topics I'm taking out of it. So I'm not going to force you to buy it, though. There will also be extra credit. I like to give at least a letter grade's worth of extra credit every semester, so watch out for that, usually around exam time. And then we have the final exam at the end of the semester, and that is set in stone. It's based on, you just look it up in a table on the website for the college, and it looks like our final is going to be Wednesday, the Wednesday of finals week, so that's the 6th of December, starting at the same time as class. So at 4 to show up as if it were a normal class day. You won't come on the Monday, though, because that will be another final day for you, probably. So you show up on the Wednesday of finals week at 4, and we get an hour and 50 minutes to take it. Okay? So that's how that's all going to work out. And that is probably the bulk of what you care about on the syllabus. Please read the rest, though. Any other questions about that stuff? I'll get to our first essay towards the end of the class, I promise. All right. More policies, yay. So let's talk about late submissions. I'll be pretty lenient with late submissions. I will accept late programming assignments and check-in surveys, so that's a decent chunk of your grade, up to the last day of instruction, okay? But I do have to penalize you when you turn things in late so that I get you to turn them in on time. So the second you turn something in late, I'm chopping off 50% of your grade. Okay, so that's the trade-off, but hopefully you think that's fair because like if you miss a week's assignment, you can do it at the end of the semester and still get credit. Okay, so that's what I'm doing with late submissions. The one thing I won't accept is late essays because those take forever to grade. I hope you can imagine how horrible it would be if I get a bunch of late essays while I'm trying to like work on the final. That would not be fun for me, and so I will not accept them. Okay, programming assignments though, I can grade a little bit faster. So I'm a computer scientist. All right, so that's late submission stuff. Again, shout out at me if you have any questions about this. These are my policies. Another thing I like to do that maybe is a little bit different than some professors is I like to set my due dates for this class for every assignment except for the check-in surveys, which we do at 5:30 on Fridays. Every other assignment in this class will be due at 5 p.m. on whatever day it's due, okay? And this is because in computer science, things go wrong very often, and I'm someone who can be there to help you as long as you ask for help while I'm awake. So me making things due at 5 means that when things go wrong, I'll be awake and on Discord for you to ask me about stuff and hopefully fix it while you still have time to turn the thing in. Okay, so that's why I do it. So expect every assignment to be due at 5 p.m. in this class. Okay, that might take some getting used to, but it lets us all have weekends as well, which is extra nice. So that's due dates. Though, so that's for most people. I do make what I call equity exceptions for certain people in the class. So if any of these apply to you, just talk to me after class. I'll write your name down, get you in the right place. But I do extend my due dates for certain people who deserve extensions. So if you work at least half time, so 20 hours or more per week, school doesn't count. If you're taking 20 units, that's your fault, right? Some of us have to work. So if you're working at least half time, 20 hours a week, then I will give you until midnight for every assignment. I'll extend your due dates 7 hours, okay? I hope we all agree that those people in that boat need that extra time. If you work at least 40 hours per week, so a full-time job, or if you do something that is the equivalent of working a full-time job, like caring for a child, something like that, then I will give you an extra 15 hours on every assignment, okay? So you can either stay up late or wake up early and get that assignment in, okay? You deserve that extra time. So if either of those apply to you, please let me know. Just send me a message on Discord or something, or talk to me after class, and I'll make sure that you get those extensions. Okay? So that's my due date policy. Let's see what's next. Again, just shout out if you have any questions. I will drop quite a few lowest scores, so I'll drop your 3 lowest programming assignments. Can't drop essays because those are weighted weird by word count, sadly. But I'll drop your 3 lowest programming assignments. So if you have a couple weeks where you can't get something in, it's not the end of the world. It's like it didn't happen. Okay? Though I encourage you to complete them because all of the topics build on top of each other. So that's that. So that's pretty much everything that has to do with your grade. So we got to all of that. Let's talk about getting help now. So I would like you to get on Discord if you have not already got on it and join our class Discord server. So let me open that up for you. It'll probably take forever to load, but we'll get there. Was everybody able to get on our Discord? Cool. Just yell at me if you have any questions about any of that. But once you click the invite link, if it ever feels like loading, you only get to see a certain number of channels by default, but you're going to add some roles by clicking emojis, and that will let you see everything. So once you first join the Discord for the class, you'll only see the welcome channel and the guide channel. Just scroll up to the tippy top of the welcome channel, and you'll click the 100 emoji. You'll click the dog emoji to join the CSCI 1 specific stuff. You can add your pronouns here, and then you're pretty much set. You can read the guide if you want. That'll give you access to these channels down here, and probably the most important to you right now is CSCI 1. So you can talk to your peers and past peers with this channel. So that's super nice. Hopefully you will get a kick out of it. So that's our Discord. Where was I? I was here. I highly encourage you to ask questions that you have publicly to your peers. So, because if it's like 3 a.m. and I'm asleep, maybe one of your peers is awake and can help you. That's why we have access to this. I do want you to use your judgment, though. If you're trying to ask a question that would involve sharing a ton of code or a complete answer for something, bits and pieces is fine, but like something large, please do not post that publicly. All right, that would give away answers. I don't want that. And so please, I trust you, use your judgment. But in those cases where you have to ask about some stuff that might give things away, talk to me. So click my name, click message. I can't message myself, but you can send me a direct message. And so that will be private, just to me. You're not giving away answers. Okay, so that's that. I trust that you will ask the right question at the right spot. So yeah, send me a DM if you need to. I highly, highly encourage you to use Discord to contact me instead of email or Canvas, because nobody posted anything right now, but I have nice little like number signs appear next to things when I see that people have posted in our class server, and I see that I need to respond to them. So that's super nice. I think you can imagine how disgusting a professor's email inbox is. I might not see your email or your Canvas message, but I will definitely see your Discord message. All right, so that is my preference, at least. Let's see here. That's Discord. Let's talk about office hours. So I will have lots of office hours. All full-time instructors here are required to have 5 office hours per week, and so here are mine. You can get to the schedule on this office hours page. And you'll click. You can join them virtually or in person. I'll show you. I'm going to have some after this class, actually. So, sorry, this is a little zoomed out, but these green rectangles are when I would like to have my office hours. They might change. I want to go to like the ACM club meetings, and that might ruin this Tuesday office hours schedule. I'll just move to Thursday. So just keep looking at this, and I'll give you an announcement if I ever change these. But this is at least when I want to have my office hours, and I will definitely be having them after class today. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I will have them in my office physically as well as on Zoom. So you just want to go home, you can click the office hours Zoom link either here or here and join them that way, or you can come to my office. Friday office hours will be Zoom only. Okay. Look at how they're right before a due date, most likely. That's why I do that. At 5 p.m. So that's my office hours. That's the schedule. Please come to them. They are for you. So that's office hours in a nutshell. There's also the tutorial center on campus. It's great. If you haven't heard of it, do look into it. Let's see. And then finally, this is computer science. I need to say this. You're going to get stuck when you're working on an assignment, especially on a programming assignment. If you've never programmed before, or even if you have, there's going to be something that just gets in your way, and that is when I want you to ask for help. Come to the tutorial center, come to office hours, send me a DM. Somehow ask for help from somebody, because, what do I like to say? There is no virtue in staring at the screen for 4 hours, all right? I did that when I was an undergrad. I didn't want to ask anybody for help, and it would have been so much faster to solve my problems if I asked for help. So please don't be like me and talk to somebody, at least your peers, if not me. So let's set a time period. Let's say if you have been stuck for 30 minutes on something and you cannot go forward, you don't know what to do, I've been thinking about the same thing for 30 minutes, I don't know where to go next, that's when I want you to ask for help, right? That's when you should come to office hours, send a DM, because I'm getting paid, right? I'm getting paid to help you get over whatever your current problem is, so that you can be stuck for another 30 minutes on the next thing. That's where I want you to be. All right, so let's set 30 minutes as our time period, and if you get stuck for that long, get help. All right, I hope that you will take advantage of that. Though, if you get stuck for 29 minutes on something and then you have your flash of genius, that's exactly what I'm expecting to happen. That's just how you learn with computer science. All right, so please get help when you need it. I think that's all that I wanted to say there. That is my encouragement to you. All right, I'm here to help. Any questions about any of that? Because I think we're ready for attendance. Are we good so far, at least? All right, let's keep on trucking. So let's take attendance. What I have done to streamline this process, rather than like making you sit at the same desk every time or having you sign your name, I have made us a beautiful class website that I hope you've looked at. So It is www.lautensclass.com. You can get to it also from Canvas, from the home page. It's down at the bottom here, class website. And let me get you all logged in. I did rewrite it from scratch over the summer, so there might be some bugs, and we will find them, but hopefully they will not get us, they will not ruin this attendance session. We might have to write our names on paper if I mess it up, but I did try to test it at least. So I have made you all accounts on this class website, and here's how you log in. Your login right now, your username is your password right now, and your username is your last name, all lowercase, no spaces, no hyphens or anything, plus an underscore, plus your student ID. So if this is my last name, and if this were my student ID number, this would become my username on the class website. It would also be my password right now, all right? Yep, I'll give you some time. And then we have, if your name looks more like this, you got accent marks and hyphens and things, get rid of all of those. It becomes, that's your last name, underscore, student ID, all right? So what I would like you to get logged in, I'll log in as me right now. It'll look a bit different, but once you get logged in, you should see this apps part, and you can change your password up here in the top right if you'd like to. You probably should. And we're going to go to the take attendance part in just a little bit. It won't work until I start the attendance, but I just want to get us all to this home page, all right? So I will come around and help anybody who needs help. But let's take a couple minutes and get logged in. And then the student, just like this, last name underscore student ID, all lowercase. All right, and for the student who is not enrolled in the class, let me get you on the class website. How do you spell your last name? The same right now, yes. Did it. And I do encourage you all to change your password. I don't know if somebody's going to want to log in as you and see your attendance, but very easy to do. Yeah. So, moment of truth. I rewrote this whole thing over the summer, so we're going to see if it works right now. But you can go to the take attendance part. You can click any of these once I start it. Won't matter. But I'm going to go here. I'm going to say CSCI 1 begin attendance. And theoretically, you should be able to click now. Sweet. And it should work. And then, after you've clicked something, you can go to view my attendance and just confirm, if you're anxious, that you got marked here. Okay, so that should quell any doubts. let's try to get that number up. Is anybody having trouble? So everybody click the button. I don't know how many of us are. Yeah, you're good to go then.
I noticed that you have a CompTIA poster on the wall. Will we be getting a voucher for free, or will we have to end up paying for that for this class?
I have no idea. I think the other CSCI faculty got just the shipment of those, and we had to students put names on them. So I honestly don't. I think that might be the information sciences department's stuff, anyways.
Sorry.
I don't know if you do any of that CSCI, but talk to the counselor. I'm sure they be able to. So we will say we're here because there were only 13 of us. We're just all spread out. I don't know. So, is there anybody who has not clicked that they were here and then gone and confirmed that the attendance worked in the view my attendance bit? We've all done that. Shout now or get marked absent. All right. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop it right now. Going once. Going twice. There really must be only 13 of us. Or I programmed it wrong. All right. So, thank you for humoring me. That's going to be how we take attendance from now on. And now we're ready to actually learn computer science. Yay! So let's get started with that. I'm going to have us use a different app on the class website as well, so keep it open. And here's what I like to do in my lectures. I'm glad you're all here. So I will be taking advantage of this little bi-clicker app that I've made for all of us. A whole lot. I'll try a whole lot at least. And the reason it's called bi-clicker is because I'm making fun of that little iClicker thing that maybe you've used in a larger like science-y class. You have to pay like $50 to buy this thing so that you can press A through E, right? So I've made you a free version of that. You are very welcome. And we're going to use that, okay? So the reason we have that is so that we can do what's called peer instruction, which is me splitting you into groups, just having you talk to people who are sitting next to you, and I'll give you a problem to work on, and you can talk to each other and get it solved. And that is one of the greatest things in the world as far as instructors are concerned. You look at any literature about peer instruction, you guys all learn so much better from each other rather than by listening to me, okay? You'd rather talk to each other rather than talk to me too. And that does not make me feel bad, that's just how the world works. I get it. So it's worth the slight discomfort of talking to another human. I promise you're going to learn more. We're going to do it, all right? Today's questions don't involve getting into groups until the end, though, at least. So let us have our first bi-clicker question. I'm going to go and open it up for us in a second, but I'm going to give us a bunch of in-class exercises, which are called ICEs for short, right? ICE. And our mascot here, for some reason, is a bull, and we called it the Crush, and I'm not sure how those two go together, but we did it. And so obviously, I'm going to call our in-class exercises Crushed Ices. I'm very excited about this name. So please go to the bi-clicker app, and I will start a question for us. So I would like you to tell me what your major is. Is it one of these? Is it something else? Let's figure out the makeup of this class. I have 3 questions for us or just 2 questions, sorry about that. Who is here? Who are our peers? So please press A through E, and I'll wait until we've all got something, and it looks like we all did. I see the number 13, and I guess that's our number. So let's see who's here. So a lot of us are computer science majors, okay? It's probably, or computer engineering is probably how you learned about this class. It's somewhere on a page that we gave you once. And then a good chunk of us are something else. So I am glad that there's a bit of everybody here. That makes it more exciting. So the computer science, the scientists and the engineers get to talk to the non-scientists and the non-engineers, and we get to have better discussions for that reason. So I'm happy about that. This class gets a lot of different kinds of people. So thank you. Glad you're here. Let's have one more question about the makeup of the class. So try answering again. This is half of the class is about programming. Have you ever programmed before? I think the answers are going to be a bit close to the previous answers, but we'll figure that out soon enough. Has it been a while since you programmed? If I get sick, could you come up here and just teach for me? How much do you know? All right, magic number 13. Thank you. It's Taylor Swift's favorite number. So we got A, B, and C. All right, so most of us, slightly majority, are saying B. Yes, but it's been a while. It's been a summer, right? So that's totally fine. I'm glad you're here. Some of us have been actively programming, great. And then a decent amount of us have never programmed before, including some of the computer science majors, computer engineering majors. Maybe this is your first semester. That's great. So yeah, the people who answered B or C, please help out the people who answered A. Perfect. So yeah, that has hopefully given you a taste of who's in the class, what your peers look like, and if we're ready, if we're good, I want to talk a little bit about computer science. Today is just going to be a laid-back kind of lecture. We'll talk about the history of computer science a little bit, and then we'll get into a little bit of ethics as well, and that'll lead into our first essay. So let's do it. So do you need to take, well, I'm going to give you these slides. It's completely up to you. Whatever you feel like doing, and you're going to get the recording if you want to take notes later. But yeah, let's learn a little bit about how this field got made that some of us have signed up for. So I guess if we go back as far as possible, what was the first computer? It's just something that makes it easier for us to perform some type of computation, and math is a computation. So let's say that the abacus, back several 4,000, 5,000-ish years ago, let's say that that's the first computer, right? Because all a computer is something that can help us perform computation. So this is technically a computer. Why not? That was the first one. We've gone a bit further since then, but I guess that we could say was the start of it all. We have to fast forward quite a while before we made more progress than that. So we have to go to the 1700s to get the startings, I guess, of computer science. So in 1702, this dude named Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz, who did a lot of calculus stuff if you've taken a calculus class, he invented both binary as well as the formal study of logic, which we will talk about in this class as well. So, very famous man, did a lot of stuff, must have had a lot of free time, I guess. But yeah, binary, we're going to talk a whole lot about in this class, because that's how computers encode their information digitally. So binary is a fancy term for the base 2 number system, which we will talk a whole lot about some other day. And all it means right now is we think in base 10, probably because we have 10 fingers. And so our digits go from 0 to 9, 10 digits total. Binary, base 2, they only have 2 digits to work with. So they have zeros and ones. That's all they get. And then that means, though, like we have to go all the way from 0 to 9, and then we run out of digits, we need a new place. In binary, you go 0, 1, and then the number for 2 in binary, we don't have anything after 1, so we have to add a new place immediately. 1, 0 in binary is the number 2. Then 1, 1 would be 3. I will talk about that in a lot more detail later, but that's cool. And then we can encode anything in binary. Everything running on my computer is encoded in binary. This image, all these slides. You can put whatever you want into ones and zeros form, which is fun to think about. Computer scientists like to compress it a little bit, and instead of looking at ones and zeros all day long, they like to look at 0 through F all day long. So a number system that goes and includes letters, because they need more digits for every place. That's base 16, called hexadecimal, which we will also talk about. But all this fun stuff was invented by this nice man with the last name of Leibniz, and it all kicked off from there, essentially. All right. Another 100 years later, this guy named Charles Babbage had a very lofty dream. He never got to finish this thing, but he thought about it a whole lot, and he built something simpler that was kind of similar, but this is like the first more or less mechanical thing that we might think of as a computer. He was trying to build this thing called the analytical engine. Right? It's just, he never got to build it. This was somebody who recreated it after he died. But the whole idea was this was a mechanical thing with cranks and turning knobs and gears, that when you turned it and you fed it in a program, it would run the program. And we'll learn exactly what that all means soon enough. But that's what's going on. And so an example program would be made up of a bunch of instructions, let's say. And so here's like a sample program that could be run on this analytical engine. engine. It's like, all right, first things first, I would like you to take the values that we have for the x and y numbers, and I'd like you to place their sum into the z variable that lives in the memory of the cogs on this machine, which is cool. Step 2, and I would run these in order, take maybe the square root of the number that lives in the z variable. And then finally, on the output wheel, please show whatever z is set to, because that's the answer that we care about. And so this was like a little program, and you could turn the gears, and it would eventually run all these instructions and give you an answer. So it's like the first computer, let's say, the first thing that we would think of a bit more of as a computer. So this was invented in the early 1800s by Charles Babbage, and oh man, surprisingly, Charles Babbage was not the first person to write a program for this thing. He just thought of it. It's like, here's what it can do. The first person who wrote a program for Babbage's analytical engine was a woman named Ada Lovelace. Her full name was Augusta Ada King, Countess of Lovelace. So she was royalty. She had the coolest life. Did we remember reading about Lord Byron in English class? We heard that name before. She was the only legitimate child of Lord Byron. He had a bunch of other children. They were all illegitimate. She was the only legitimate one. So much, she has the coolest life. You have to look up her Wikipedia page. But among other things, she was the very first computer programmer, which is the coolest title to have ever. And the program that she wrote, the very first program, I guess, ever written, was a program to compute the Bernoulli numbers, which is used in math and statistics and stuff like that, if you have heard of them. So it would compute the next one from the first one, the one before. And so this is a piece of paper describing how you would program the analytical engine to do that computation. And so the very first program was written by Ada Lovelace, and she was the very first programmer in 1843, so a few years after Babbage came up with this thing. How fun. So it's just a little history lesson. This is fun for me to talk about. So this is one of the greatest events in computer science history. Moving on, we have Boolean algebra, invented by George Boole, so it took his name, I guess. And Boolean algebra was the idea that we could use binary to do more than just count. We could use binary. We could say that 1 means true and 0 means false, or yes or no, and we could do more than just add those numbers and convert between bases. We could build these Boolean circuits up, and they would combine trues and falses, or ones and zeros, binary things, in a certain way. Like, for example, one operation in Boolean algebra is the AND operation. The symbol for AND looks like this. So 1 ANDed with 1 is like, what's the answer when I AND 1 with 1? Are they both true? Yes, the answer is going to be a 1 at the other end. And so you can join together a bunch of these operations on Boolean things, which are ones and zeros, on binary one or 0 values, and come up with an answer on the other end after messing with those numbers enough. And this idea leads to computer processors. All you need is Boolean algebra and then a little clock signal that goes high and low every so often, and you have a computer. So this is a lot cooler than this slide shows. That's Boolean algebra. Again, just shout out if you have any questions about this stuff. It's fun to talk about. I might get carried away. So that's 1854, and we have to wait until the 1930s to get actual physical things that we think of as computers. The first breakthrough was theoretical. This was 1936. Alan Turing invented this idea of the Turing machine, which is a mathematical model. It's not a real device. It's a mathematical model of how computers should be able to execute things. What does it mean to be a computer? It's kind of a philosophical thing. But a Turing machine kind of looks like this. It's got this thing called a tape. It has a bunch of instructions that it loads off of the tape, and it can read and write things. It's very simple, but Alan Turing proved that anything that any computer that we ever build could want to do, it can all be made, that process of computation can be converted into an equivalent Turing machine. So that anything that you could ever want to do could be encoded as a Turing machine, which is really cool. Very fancy term. Feel free to look that up on Wikipedia as well. And so, yeah, that's, if you could build a Turing machine, I guess, you could do anything. It might just take a while. But that is a model of computation that got people thinking about what it means to be a computer and how to make them. Alan Turing, I don't know if you've seen the movie or heard about him before, but he had a pretty sad life towards the end. He was, I guess, let's see, what's the right thing to describe it? The government of the UK was not very nice to him, though he made a lot of helpful discoveries as part of World War II. So look his history up if you've never heard of it. But very, very smart guy. And around the same time, 36, we have the first digital computer. So something that you can plug in and it's going to run. There's no moving parts. It's just information being sent as electrical signals. So that's beautiful. This is called Z3 or maybe Z3 because this was Europe. But it was invented by a man named Konrad Zuse because he was German. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this was a digital computer. So it was only involving electricity. And so everything was encoded as like voltages and charges. So like 0 or 1, if you wanted to encode that inside of a digital computer, that is corresponding to like off or on as far as electricity goes. And that, if you go back to Boolean algebra and how you want to build a circuit out of things, we call those ones and zeros true and false instead. So there's a lot of different words for the same thing. So like 0 is off, is false. 1 is on, is true. And then if you want to actually build some computer and talk about physics or something, this all turns into how do you encode falsehood or 0 inside of a computer digitally. It is low voltage or high voltage. So I don't expect us all to be engineers, but all of these things are essentially the same, and I might be using them interchangeably in this class. But I'll at least explain myself before I do. But that's major breakthrough, the first digital computer that could run any program under the sun as long as it fit in the memory. No moving parts, completely electricity powered, right? It was giant though. It was very large. And then we built more digital computers in the US and in other countries. And they would take up this entire room. They were huge. Which is crazy to think about. The only reason that computers are small these days is because of the invention of the transistor. Have we heard of the transistor before? Have we heard that word before, maybe? I don't expect you to know what it is. But a transistor is the reason computers can be tiny in our pockets, the reason that they're not giant room-sized things anymore. It was invented in 1947, and this is pretty much anyone that you talk to these days who's a physicist or computer scientist or any kind of scientist really will claim and agree that the transistor was the greatest invention of humanity so far. It's that important. So it was invented at Bell Labs because they had a lot of money. They were a telephone company. They were supplying the whole country with telephone service, I guess. And they also had a really good R&D department. So they invented this thing called the transistor. And what it can do, you'll have to wait till CSCI 45 if you want to know more about it. But at the CSCI 1 level, a transistor can do one of two things. It could either amplify a signal, or it could function as an electrical on or off switch. So let me explain both of those, and then cross out the first one because it doesn't really matter for us. But here's what it means to amplify a signal. Here's a little weak signal coming in from somebody, and they're like, say you have a radio or something, your antenna, we're not being shocked by the radio waves coming from the closest radio station because the signal is very weak. And so we get a baby signal, and we send that through a transistor radio, for example, and we can amplify that into sound. It makes little baby waves, big waves. That's what a transistor can do. It can amplify a signal. Another good reason to have transistors, another reason to want to do this, I'm a guitarist, so let me use guitars as an example. If you have ever played an electric guitar, or you've ever seen one, here's kind of an idea of how they work. You got your strings, right? And it's an electric guitar, so you plug it in. You plug it into an amplifier, and the cheaper amplifiers, you got tube amps, which do something else using vacuum tubes, but the cheaper amps use transistors to amplify the signal. And then, of course, you plug this into the wall. Here's the wall it's plugged into. And every electric guitar has one or more pickups, which have magnets inside of them, and it translates the wobbling of the strings into voltages across this wire that's being plugged into. There's magnets in the pickups, react with the metal in the strings, they wobble, and it induces a very tiny voltage in this wire that's coming out. And there's a transistor somewhere deep inside of this amplifier, and it takes that signal, makes it large, and now you can hear it. You can play to a stadium or something. So that's one thing a transistor can do. It's really good at it. Doesn't take a lot of energy. And sadly, we don't really care about that in computer science. It's one really cool thing that a transistor can do, but the other thing that it can do is the thing we really like. It can function as an electronic switch that can be turned on as fast as you would like to turn it on. So we would like to do digital stuff. We don't care about wobbliness, like this is analog signals. We care about zeros and ones, on or off, and switches are where it's at with that. So here's what a transistor can do if you want it to function as a switch. Let's pretend that this box is a transistor. It has a wire that may or may not have something flowing through it, and it takes as input a little voltage here. It takes some energy, you feed it into the transistor, and if the energy is weak, this little transistor keeps the switch open. So there's nothing flowing from here to here. The wire, the circuit is not complete, right? You can't hear the sound, you can't pass along the data, something like that. If you send enough voltage, it closes the switch, and now this wire functions as a wire. Circuit is closed, and whatever you're trying to get to pass can pass. If you combine enough transistors, having them all function as switches, you can build a CPU. I will not teach you how in this class. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, you'll have to wait till CSCI 45 for that. We'll get closer, but that is the magic of transistors. The reason that these computers were so big back then was they were using vacuum tubes instead of transistors, and those are large that do the same thing. So that is the transistor, probably the greatest invention of all time so far. It has definitely improved humanity. Next, fast forward a few more decades, we have ARPANET, which is the beginnings of the internet. And look at the first 4 people on the internet. The first 4 nodes on the internet was a lot of Californian schools, including where I went to grad school, and then Utah. Why not? So those are the first 4 people on the internet. The first 3 people were these 3, UCLA, UCSB, and Stanford. So sadly, for some reason, they didn't offer a networking class at the right time, so I didn't take it, but I should have. It was the 3rd school on the internet, 3rd thing on the internet. But back then it was called the ARPANET. And this is when people had the idea of, okay, we got these giant computers, maybe they should talk to each other. That's all networking is, right? So they just ran wires, and eventually started using the phone lines instead. But that's a fun Wikipedia deep dive that I'll let you take alone. That is the internet, right? We wanted to network computers together. We wanted them to be able to talk to each other, and look at us today. Yeah, so we've got a lot going on. Everybody's talking to everybody else. And we have the ARPANET to thank for that. Just a bunch of schools who wanted to share research data. How far we have come. Well, that's that. Still, at this time, computers, though they were getting smaller, they were still very expensive, right? We didn't mass produce transistors yet. We didn't have like a lot of things that people would want for themselves. Like we would, computers were being programmed to do like financial data crunching and stuff like that. Nobody really wanted their own computer for a while. Fast forward to the 70s, we were now making things small enough and mass producing them enough that the cost went down to maybe want to have a personal computer. And it's weird to talk about, but people did not want their own computer back then. This had to be marketed towards them. Nobody wanted their own computer. They didn't understand what the point of it would be. But back in 1976, the very first, let's say, probably personal computer was invented by these 2 guys. So Steve Wozniak in the bottom and Steve Jobs up top. Steve Wozniak did all the real work, but they together formed a company called Apple, and this was their Apple I computer. They only made like 500 of them, but it was the first personal computer that you could program. It came all together with a little TV screen and a keyboard, and you could write whatever you wanted and run it. Really cool. The Apple II was when it really took off. But what do you know? That's the very first personal computer. People started to want their own, so they could do computations at home, I guess. So that's fun. And that pretty much has led to where we are now. We've got computers in front of us all. We've got computers in our pockets, most likely. We've come a long way. And that's most of the history of computer science that I want to talk about. We'll get into ethics in just a second. But before we do, I just want to take a slide to say, did I zoom in? No, I just cropped things weird. I would like to hit hard the fact that computer science is not just a bunch of dudes, if you think that it is. So let me highlight a few women, there are plenty more in the field, who have made some very, very cool contributions. All right. The first, this is Grace Hopper. I guess her full title was Rear Admiral Grace Hopper. She made a lot of contributions to a part of computer science that is near and dear to my heart, programming languages. That's what I studied in grad school. So how to formally specify them and write compilers for them, if you've heard of that word before. But she's the first person who used the word bug, by the way, to talk about software problems. So we have her to thank for that. And yeah, I can't fully explain, I have to go to her Wikipedia page to fully understand, but I can't fully explain how much she has contributed to computer science. There's a very, very famous conference every year that has her name. She's that important. Next, we have Sophie Wilson. If you have a smartphone or one of the new Macs or like a tablet, she helped design the ARM architecture, which is the low-power kind of CPUs that exist in every smartphone, for example. So you get to thank Sophie for your iPhones and your Android devices, etc., etc. Yeah. So then we have Shafi Goldwasser. She received what's called the Turing Award in 2012. Have you heard of the Turing Award before? It is the computer science equivalent of the Nobel Prize. So you get $1 million if you win it. It's really cool. So she got it for her work in cryptography. Definitely not my area that I specialized in, so I don't know too much. But she did some really, really cool stuff. And some of what she worked on, which is called fully homomorphic encryption, we're getting better at it. And if we get good enough, it may be the new transistor. We'll see. So she did some awesome stuff. And then finally, probably the most famous picture of a woman in computer science that you've maybe seen on the internet is Margaret Hamilton. She was in charge of the flight software being written for the Apollo program. And so this is a very famous picture of her standing next to a printout of all the code that went into the lunar lander. They just printed it out because why not? And so she led the team that built that and sent people to the moon. What more is there to say, right? So computer science, it may look from the outside like it's just a bunch of dudes, but I promise you it's not. And I'm trying very hard to make sure nobody thinks of it that way. Okay, so yeah, that is my history in a nutshell of computer science. Are there any questions about that before I completely switch gears in the last 15 minutes of class? All right, so this will help you with your next essay, with your first essay. I want to talk about ethics because we have to talk about critical thinking in this class. And that's more than just programming. Let's talk about ethics as well as social issues. And this will lead into our essay. So here are some ethical questions. And ethics is the study of what's like right, what's wrong, things like that. So there is no right answer, by the way. You can argue whatever you want as long as you argue it well. But think about these just to yourself for now. Is it okay to steal to feed your family? If like you had no other way of getting food, is it okay to steal at that point? That's an ethical question. Another question is, how much privacy should we have? Should we be given? Are we entitled to from our government, from the websites that we go to every day, etc., from the hardware that we use? That's another ethical question. Another fun one that's very common in philosophy classes is like, is it right? Is it okay to kill one person if it means you save 50 people? That's called the trolley problem, if you've heard of it or seen it on YouTube or something. But these are all ethical questions to which there is no right answer. You just have to come up with a good argument. And we're going to learn what it takes to make a good argument in this class. Arguments. You'll think of one for each of these. And we're going to learn how to make a good argument and to describe good arguments. Arguments can be what's called sound. They can be valid. There's a bunch of words you can use to describe them. They could have fallacies in them, and then you shouldn't believe them. So we're going to learn how to specify what it means to have a good argument and come up with good ones. All right, I'll give you a lot of practice. But that's like the second part of the class. And so here is your first assignment in the class is not the check-in survey. Let's talk about it. I'm going to release it to you, and you should be able to see it on Canvas right now. Click. So it's a very tiny essay. It won't be very long, just to get us started. But it will be a 250-word essay, and it will be due at 5 p.m. on, I think I'm going to make my essays due, I'm going to give you a week and a day. So all your essays will be due like on Tuesday usually of this class. Let's see, did I do it wrong? August 15th. No, it should be available. Oh, I think that you have not done, you haven't gone through all the things, because it's like complete all items to unlock the next module, complete all items to unlock the next module. You have to do all that. You have to visit every page up above. I think that's the problem that you're getting into right now. So most of us should be able to see this, I hope. Everybody else can get it? Okay. So here is your little mini essay, 250 words, getting started, a little out of time towards the 6,000, right? So please respond to these questions in a short essay. Pick whatever format you want to. You can use bullet points if you want. It's very short. But answer those two questions, the ones that were on the slide. So is it okay to steal to feed your family? Take some of your 250 words to come up with a good argument, yes or no, or maybe it depends. I don't know, whatever you want to tell me. And then the classic trolley problem, I want to hear your answer. So is it right to kill one person if it means that you're going to save 50? And I would like to see where you're at as far as your argument writing abilities are. So explain what you're thinking, mention why. This is what you should always do when you're arguing, right? You should talk about the other side. So if you say, yes, it's right to kill one person, talk about why you don't agree if someone said no. That's what it means to argue, yeah? So remember that there is no right answer, but you have to be convincing. You can't just say, I'm right, everybody else is wrong because they suck, all right? We're going to get better than that in this class. So give your reasons, argue your points, however you would like, but that is your 250-word essay due next Tuesday at 5 p.m. unless I give you an extension. Any questions about this? Yes? No, this is so short that I don't care. You can just write, it's going to give you a text box on Canvas. You can just fill it in. That's totally fine. And yeah, if you would like to make a PDF or something, not a big deal. I think I'm actually only allowing you to use a text entry box for this one. So yeah, however you want to format it, I'm happy. I'll give more instructions for larger essays later on. Yeah. Any other questions? There was a hand up over here. Yes.
I didn't need to say this. I had a question. Do you have to go on like websites to find links to your arguments?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you trying to find other people's arguments?
Like concrete detail, like sources, citations.
I will tell you if I want citations. This I just want from your brain. I do not need any citations for this essay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, no citations necessary for this essay. I will tell you in bold when I want citations. Okay, that's my promise to you. So this one, tell me however you want to tell me. And then, let's see here. So, the last thing that I want to do is I would like to help you get started on this essay. So I would like you to please say hello to the people next to you. Introduce yourself. This is going to be your peer instruction group for the last few minutes of this class. What I want you to do in that group after you say hello and introduce yourself, please pick one of those questions from that slide, from the essay that you're about to write, and come up with like 2 good arguments for that idea. Like, yes, you should kill that one person, and 2 arguments against that idea. Like, no, you should not. You should, even though those 50 people are going to die, we don't want them to. This is forcing you to think about both sides, which will help in your essay, okay? So, or you can even think about this other privacy question. Like, for means lots of privacy. Against means I don't want any privacy. And just save those answers that you come up with for your first essay. So, yeah, take a few minutes to discuss what your thoughts are for and against. So you don't even have to say what you're believing yet. Just come up with some good arguments for and against, and that will help you either prop the one up that you care about or knock the one down that you don't care about, that you don't like. Okay? yeah, take a few minutes, and I'll bring us back, and that'll be it.
Let's talk about how one of my arguments for against the trolley problem type of thing is if you were to change it from killing the 50 people to the one, you would be committing murder instead of like calling the police. That's why you probably shouldn't touch that lever. That's one of the arguments. The other one is like if you were to change the lever, you would kill a doctor versus like 50 people who should be in prison or something like that. Well, you see, you kind of heavily lead your argument one way, meaning that you kill this person, you do a great thing. You save these people, you do a great thing. However, if you flip it, they make it interesting. One doctor. But that's the thing that makes it interesting. Would you rather kill 50 Hitlers or save 50 lives but kill one doctor? Average people. Well, then you have to make it a numbers game. If they're average people, you would go with one person since you know nothing about them, right? That's what Tesla did with their auto driving thing. It's like, all right, we need to, if we're going to make the auto driving thing in an emergency, we need a database of people. We need to know how valuable this person's life is. We need to know how valuable this person's life is. They have all of that value, and they're in a situation should be of they need to hit this person or this person. Which are they going to take? Are they going to take into age into account? Are they going to take profession into account? How are they going to choose which one that they're going to do?
Take about one more minute, and then we'll come back together.
That might be their last days.
Who's to say? What if they're 70 years old and on their way to cure cancer? What if that child grows up
True. You do that.
curing cancer? Who's going to stay happy? You're going to have more criminals and more cancer. Just all these guys for kill the 50 Hitlers and the doctor. With one trolley on one track. Fire a lawyer.
You put it on a CC.
My glasses are too bald caps.
Sorry.
All right.
On the radio so I can see
I'm really glad you guys are having these discussions. They sounded great. Let me bring us back just for a little bit. You can continue these after I'm done talking. But hopefully that's given you some firepower to use in your essays. Yeah, so the very last thing, there's not much time left today. We talked a lot. But I do want to say, usually, I will give you a decent chunk of time. I'll end the lecture before the class ends most of the time. And so I just want to tell you right now that when that happens, like the lecture's over, I'm not going to walk out the door. The rest of the time is going to be for you to work on whatever assignments are out, ask me questions, talk to your peers. I bake that time into the class so that you can have that for you, right? So I'm not ending the class and leaving if we end early, okay? I'll be here. I encourage you to stay and work on whatever's assigned in the comfort of these nice chairs and these giant computers, right? But of course, if you've finished all your work, I'm not going to force you to stay, all right? So that's, I think, all that I wanted to say. You can continue with your discussions, but we have 1 minute left.